person says this, and I don't like the way I don't even like the way they walk. They walk kind of funny. They're different than me. And so, in some way of trying to build up our own self-esteem, we develop these barriers that say, like we try to figure out weird ways that we can be better than people so that we can feel better about ourselves.
Elitism?
I don't know what you want to see. That's a perfect example. We want to put a label on it.
It's true. No, I just try to figure things out. My brain's always going.
That's got to be called something. What box can we put it in? So, I ended the trip here and went home from here. It was a 6.5-hour drive. And this time around, we're starting the trip here. Now, we did make one stop on the way in yesterday, but we didn't spend the night, so this is our first overnight stop. I was so quickly reminded of what the first trip felt like in that first stop. The lady, might as well have been Kelly 10 years ago, it seemed like. I don't know. I don't know what the similarities there are, but it felt like I was there so that I could talk to her about you, what you guys have done here. She's got a vision that's very similar. And on the first trip, I noticed that happening a lot. I would be talking to one person, and I would go to the next person, and what I brought from that last person would be benefiting that next person. It happened like 6 times. I was like, seriously? How many times is this going to happen? It was crazy. And I felt like the person I was telling it to thought I was making it up or something. I was like, how could that be? How could it be that you're on this trip? In February, it was a random trip. I didn't have a reason to be going anywhere. This time, I kind of have a reason, graduation, but that's not really the reason why we're out here. It's so much bigger than that, but graduation sounds like a good reason to take a trip, so we did. Do I really want to walk in my graduation? I don't know. It's not that important to me. I'd rather be doing what we're doing here tonight. So, oneness is a concept that kind of makes us feel uncomfortable. I mean, if I look you in your eyes and I say we are one, you look at me like, no, we're not, dude. I'm going to go home and pee in my own bathroom, and you're not going to be there.
Oh.
So our mind is automatically saying, no, we're one sounds good, that's unity, yeah, I get it, but seriously, no, we're not one. I'm going to drive a separate car. I'm going to go to work separately. We're not one. You can't possibly be feeling what I'm feeling or thinking what I'm thinking. But yeah, we really are one. And the more we ponder that thought, the more we start to see it. And the more we think, yeah, that's how Papa made us. We are one.
We need each other.
We need each other. Yeah, we thrive off the interaction that we get from one another. I could have a 10-minute conversation with you and see God in a certain light that I've never seen him before. I could have the same 10-minute conversation with everybody in this room and see a different piece of God or see him in a different light. And so, as we're interacting with not just our family and our friends and the people that we like, we can get that same experience from the people that we don't like. And a lot of times, you'll be amazed that you'll actually gain a little more than you clumsy. Well, we go through those periods, and it's when God introduces us to people that make us uncomfortable, and it stretches us. And I think that the concept of oneness, it stretches everybody. It's stretching me every day. I can't fully grasp it. And one day I will. We all will. But I think the more that we look at each other as each other, we're all sons and daughters. We're all his creation. Is there really any difference? differences? Or is the only difference what goes through here? Think about that, because our thoughts happen without us really thinking a lot of times. The subconscious is always funneling things to your consciousness. And we think automatically. Somebody walks in the door, we've already judged them. It happens. We don't even realize it. It's already happened. And God doesn't look at us like that. God looks at us as, you are my son, you are my daughter. And he's well pleased. And a lot of times we think that our behavior has a lot to do with how God sees us. But it doesn't. We don't have to impress him. We don't have to think, oh, if I don't act this way, I'm going to disappoint him. There's no disappointing God. He knows everything that's going to happen before it happens. You can't disappoint omniscience. You can't make him angry. How could God be angry when he already knows the outcome is good? He's already seen it all. And it's good. We know that the outcome is good. So that really helps with the concept of oneness. How we see the Father will help us see our fellow brothers and sisters in a different light as well. I'm not going to do this, but if I were to go around the room and say, give me one word to describe God, maybe we'll do it. Who wants to say one word that will describe God? We won't go all the way around. We'll just do a couple.
Indescribable.
Okay. Anyone else? So we've got these big ideas of God, right? And we put words to that to try to describe how big he is. There isn't a word. That's the best we can come up with in our language. To me, love is what makes everything go. If you take love out of the equation, what is there? What is the purpose without love? So, as we're looking at God and who we think he is, yes, the bigness and the fullness of, obviously he's everywhere. There is no place that he isn't. So that word is grand. It's as big as we can think, which probably doesn't quite get there. So, love is kind of like big. How do you measure how big? How do you measure love? We don't have the capacity to really measure that. We do it through words. We say sweet things to each other. We are complimentary. We go about our days in ways that we try to love the best that we can, the best that we've been taught by our parents, by our family, by the people that raised us. We do the best with what we've got. But think about this. God is love. Is there any other description of God as is something other than love? There's verses that say, oh, God was angry, God this, God that, but it doesn't say that he is something. It doesn't say he is anger. It doesn't say he is something bad. But it does say God is love. And a lot of times we think that means, oh yeah, I know God loves me. That's great. God loves me. Okay, good. And then we take a breath and everything's good. But
But let's stretch that a little bit further. He doesn't just love me or love everyone in this room. He loves the guy on the street corner that doesn't have a home. He loves the guy in jail that just committed a crime. He loves the guy on death row that's about to be executed. He loves everybody equally. So the concept of oneness is all filtered through love. If we look at, that's going to be a loving phone call. Oneness and love kind of go together. Not kind of, they do.
Yeah.
And we all have different ways of looking at love because we've all been shown different levels and different types, not types, but we all haven't been raised the same way, in the same place in the world, eating the same food, doing whatever. There's different things that we've all experienced that allow us to look at love in a different way. If we were all to write a paper about love, it wouldn't be the exact same. Words would be different. We would describe it differently because we have experienced that in a different way.
Right.
And I think we take how we've experienced it on a human level and we project that onto the Father and we say, well, this is what love is. And a lot of times, children growing up will learn God as they grow up, depending on how they were loved. So if you've got a kid that was abused by his father, he's going to look at God in some type of wrathful, abusive way. If you've got a kid that was absolutely adored by his father, and the kid could do no wrong in his father's eyes, he's going to look at God that way and say, God loves me. There's nothing I can do to disappoint him. Because that's what his earthly father has taught him. So we experience God and the concept of love through humans. So we don't quite grasp how deep God's love really is, because we're looking at it from a human perspective. We're saying, okay, well, this is the most I've been loved by a human, so that's my barometer to say God loves me that much. Probably a little bit more. Probably loves me a little bit more than that, because he's God. But I want you to walk away tonight with truly pondering, how deep is God's love? Where does it end? Where could it end? Could it ever fail? Would God's love not be there for us at any point in our life? Could there be something that we could do that God would say, there goes Hinkle again, rolling that stupid beard. He thinks that I'm telling him to do it. What an idiot. I mean, I'm just using that as an example, but we do that in our thoughts sometimes. We think that we are on this treadmill of, okay, if I behave well today, then I'm good. If I don't behave well, we may say this to ourselves before we go to bed at night or whatever. Stop doing that, because just bask in what God has already given us. We have it all. There's nothing that we lack. The only thing we lack is our mentality that says that we have lack. But we live in abundance. Coming to a place like this and sharing God with you guys, it's proof. I mean, if we look around us and we look for abundance, we'll see that it's everywhere. If we look around us and we look for lack, we're going to see that it's everywhere.
That's true.
So, look at God the way he looks at you. And okay, so how do I do that? How do I know how he looks at me, and how do I look at him the same way that he looks at me? Is that even possible? I'm not saying that in the sense of do it with your eyes. It's more of a sense of know it in your being. You're not looking with your eyes. You're being loved with who you are. If everybody that we look at is love, because he is love, then aren't we going to automatically treat them with love without even trying? Is there truly any effort there to want to stop and help the person that's on the side of the road and say, hey, you got a flat tire, let me make a phone call for you and at least get you some help. You don't have to get out of your car and put yourself in a dangerous position. But offer something. It's not even a thought that happens. You just say, okay, God, I am love. And we just do it. We just do it because we are, not because we're trying to be. We already are. It's not an effort. And when I tell people love is not an effort, they're like, what are you talking about? The divorce rate is like 60%. How could it not be an effort? People are failing at it every day. That's not the love I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the love that comes from self. I'm talking about the love that comes from God. When we realize how much he loves us, it flows through us and out to everybody that we meet. There is no effort because it's not us loving. We're not trying to be nice. We're not trying to say, oh, what can I do to make that person happy? It's him loving everybody around us through us. If we truly believe that we are the clay and he is the potter, then why are we trying? Clay doesn't move on its own. Clay just is.
It's just a lump.
Clay just sits there until it gets molded. And we get so busy in thinking that we can do this. That was the original sin in the garden, in my opinion. The misjudgment that we can do this separate from the Father, or we can do this from our own merit, from our own effort. We can't.
That's right.
We can't.
That's right.
And it puts us on a treadmill that kind of makes us a little frustrated with God, because we're constantly trying to live up to a standard that we can't. I mean, when Jesus said, forget all the other commandments, the only two commandments, love God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your might. Right? Jesus made that sound easy, but when you really think about that, how do I do that? Every single second of every day, I have to be doing that? Trying to love God like that will wear you out, because we're not made to do the loving. We're made to be reflections of his love coming through us. So, and I've witnessed this. I've witnessed this visiting families that I've never met before and staying in their house and getting to know their children and walking around on properties and them sharing their life and how they got to the point where they are. And underneath all of the stuff of the world that tends to bind us and put us in a position of feeling like life is difficult, underneath all of that is God's love. And if we just stop, be still, and know that I am God, I mean, how much easier can that be? What do I need to do? Nothing. Do nothing. And see what happens. Now, I'm not saying sit on a couch and eat bonbons. That's not what I'm saying. Although that might be fine too. What I'm saying is,
stop trying to please God. He's already pleased.